Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Reading from chapter 9 of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, with some references to the commentary of Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakur. This section describes how Krishna brings Maharaj Yudhisthira to see Bhishma Dev, who is lying on a bed of arrows at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Krishna understood that Bhishma was waiting to leave his body, waiting for that moment when Krishna would come and see him. So he stalled his death, we'll say, waiting for Krishna to come and for Krishna to give him the darshan that he longed for, that he desired. At the same time, Maharaj Yudhisthira, now becoming the king or the emperor, after the battle of Kurukshetra was won, now needs to hear some instructions from Bhishma Dev, his grandfather, about the rules and conduct of the king in accordance with the ways of Dharma. So, previously, Bhishma referenced Krishna, that you think of Krishna as your cousin, as your dear friend, as a selfless helper out of affection. You have made him your counselor, your messenger, and even your charioteer. This is to point out the wonderful qualities of Krishna, how he becomes submissive to his devotees out of their natural love. And so Bhishma says his actions are not a mistake of his judgment, for he is faultless. You should always remember that Krishna is faultless. And he takes those roles on to reciprocate the loving devotion of his devotees. He is the soul of all beings. He is equal to all, without a second and without pride. O King, see his mercy to those who are dedicated devotees. By that mercy he has come before me directly when I am about to leave my body. So Bhishma says, just see the kindness of Krishna. I desired to see him before I left this body, and here he is. He has come before me. This is his mercy. This is his mercy to all his dedicated devotees. The devotee whose mind is absorbed in Krishna, whose voice chants his holy name, becomes freed from all karmas on giving up this material body. May that Lord Krishna, Lord of all lords, with glowing lotus face, beautiful reddish eyes, pleasing smile, appearing before me now with 4 arms, showing me to be that Supreme Personality, the object of my meditation. Bhishma would meditate upon Krishna in his royal form with 4 arms. So he's appearing before me in that way. He's remaining before me while I am drinking his beauty and praising him just before I give up this body. Just see his loving kindness. Sutta said, Yudhisthira, hearing what he had said, then asked Bhishma, lying on a bed of arrows, about all the various dharmas, while all the sages listened on. He described dharmas suitable for men according to their nature, according to their varna and their ashram, which have qualities of renunciation as well as enjoyment, describing all of this according to a person's detachment or attachment. The rules of dharma may vary according to varna, ashram, and the nature of man, But one has to understand, just like it is said, the spiritual master understands everything in accordance with time and place. And thus he makes adjustment in his preaching and so forth, according to time and place. So, similarly, one has to understand the rules of Dharma, but in accordance with time and place as well. So, Bhishma is describing all this. Within Varnashram, he described the duties of giving up charity. The living being has to learn how to give of himself. He instructed him on the duties of the king, the ways of attaining liberation, as well as the duty of women, Sri Dharma, as well as the principles of Bhakti Yoga. He described these in summary or in brief, and then in complete detail. O Shanak, Bhishma is the knower of truth, and he accurately described Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha, along with all their methods, using various stories and histories as proof. So Bhishma, he described to the king, Yudhishthira, the principles of Dharma. This is Vedic society. It pivots around four principal things: Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. The ways of Dharma, the proper methods of acquiring funds to live within this world, Artha, and the enjoyments that may come, Kam, as well as the principles of attaining moksha, or liberation. As he was describing all this, describing them with stories and various historical proofs, then the time of the Uttarayana, which was desired by Bhishma, who had now finished speaking on Dharma, chose that time for him to leave his body. That time had arrived. Not only did he desire to leave his body at the moment of seeing Krishna, but also at an auspicious time when the planets were properly aligned. At that time, he withdrew his words from all the subjects he was speaking on. Now, with eyes wide open, Bhishma, the leader of 1,000 chariots, concentrated himself, free of all attachment, upon Krishna. His full attention, everything now focused on Krishna, withdrawing all the subject matters of Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha, and everything else he was speaking of. Now was the time to leave the body, and his focus became Krishna, only Krishna. No need to think about the things of this world, the principles of Dharma, Artha, Moksha, Kam, and Moksha, not required. Focus upon Krishna. So he saw, time has come. It is time to leave this body. And so his focus was completely upon Krishna, that original person who was standing before him, dressed in beautiful shining yellow garments, appearing with his 4 arms, as it was the object of Bhishma's meditation. There he stood before him, as Bhishma, free of all inauspiciousness, by his focused and pure concentration, free of all physical fatigue from fighting, free from wandering senses, by Krishna's glance of mercy, he left his body and he began to praise Krishna. His focus was on Krishna, and Krishna's focus was on Bhishma. Their eyes came together as they lovingly glanced upon each other at that time of departure. And thus he left his body praising Krishna. Bhishma said, "At the end of my life, I now offer all my thoughts to you, O Bhagavan. You who are full of 6 qualities, the best of the Yadus, superior to all other forms of the Lord, absorbed in bliss with your associates, and who as a pastime in the form of the Purusha avatar sometimes accepts Maya by your glance, which produces the material world. Now at the end of my life, I offer all my thoughts to you. You who are Bhagavan, full of 6 qualities, Bhagavan, the possessor of the 6 qualities that make you Godhead. You are the supreme Godhead, absorbed in loving bliss with your associates and engaged in such pastimes as the creation of this world through your glance and so forth. Let me have pure prema for you, O Krishna. You who are the friend of Arjuna, who possesses a body desired by all the inhabitants of the 3 worlds, which is clothed with intense yellow garments, shining in the sun, whose complexion is dark like the tamal tree, and whose lotus face is surrounded by beautiful locks of hair. The commentary describes this. Let me have pure prema, rati, without desire for any other result. O you who are the friend of Arjuna, Vijaya Sakhe. Vijay means Arjuna. Sakhe, you who are the friend of Vijay. You who are the friend of Arjuna, who accepts a body which is desired by all the persons in the upper, middle, and lower planets, which is clothed in golden garments in the sun's rays. In other words, you have a purely spiritual body, and that is what we all desire, to attain to that state where we give up this material covering and live in the glory of our spiritual identity with spiritual body, engaged in service to you. I saw that intense yellow from his upper and lower cloth, sparkling in those sun's rays as he stood on the chariot of Arjuna. Bhishma is thinking like this. This beautiful form I saw as the chariot driver. You were standing there with this beautiful yellow cloth, upper and lower, sparkling in the sun's rays, as you stood on the chariot of Arjuna. My thoughts take form of prayer to have this prema for the most beautiful Krishna, who is the charioteer of Arjuna. In the prayers of the following verses also, there is no use of a second person, though Krishna was present before him. This indicates his attraction for the sweetness of the Lord, absorbed now in virasa, that form that he saw during the battle, and his absorption in relishing it. May my mind concentrate on Krishna, whose face was decorated with hair, covered with the dust raised by the horses, tossed all about because of the speed of his driving, and with perspiration because of his great effort in his protection of Arjuna, whose arrows shone brightly, pierced slightly by my own sharp arrows. There was a relish taking place. Bhishma was also shooting arrows. And he says, I saw that armor that you were wearing as it shone brightly, being slightly pierced by my sharp arrows. In one sense, it was considered like a lover's embrace, back and forth, exchange, a loving exchange between the two. Although it was formed like some battle, 2 Kshatriyas fighting, it was a loving exchange because Bhishma was always 100% devotee of Krishna. And so even when he saw Krishna on the other side, he saw the beauty of the Lord. Here it says, this was his meditation. He was seeing Krishna as the chariot driver with dust in his hair, driving at the speed of the horses. And so it was flowing in rivulets like this with perspiration because of his efforts of protecting Arjuna. And so he says, I remember that form of yours. I was relishing that form as we engaged in battle. Oh, may I have prema for you, O Krishna, the chariot driver of Arjuna, who placed the chariot between the two opposing armies immediately on hearing Arjuna's request, and situated there by his glance, took away the prarabdha karmas of the opposing party. Here Bhishma is thinking, Arjuna asked you, put my chariot in the middle of the two armies. I want to see who's there to fight with me. You immediately did that. Arjuna asked, your devotee asked, and you did what he asked. But that was your mercy upon us all, because you came, and although we were glancing on you, that actual darshan that was taking place was you were glancing at us, taking away all our karmas, our prarabdha karmas, removing all our sins. That was your mercy. And thus, all who died on the battlefield attained to the transcendental state. May I have praying for the feet of the Supreme Lord, who by giving knowledge of himself destroyed the ignorance of Arjuna, by speaking of the Bhagavad Gita, and who, seeing the heads of the opposing army at a distance, refused to fight because he thought it was a sin to kill his relatives. You gave him that knowledge by which he would fight. He was hesitating. He was bewildered, hesitating. What should I do? How can I fight with my relatives? But you gave him the proper instruction out of your own kindness, brought him to see the opposing army, purified us, and thus gave him the proper instructions by which that war would take place. This was your desire. Giving up his own promise not to fight and making my vow to make him fight came true. Krishna said, I will not fight. I will simply be the chariot driver. But my vow was to fight with Krishna. And thus, it became true. Krishna, who was situated on the chariot, had to get down, and holding the wheel of a chariot, like his chakra, ran towards me, like a lion coming to kill an elephant, while the earth shook, and his top cloth fell to the ground. Protecting Arjuna, you got off your chariot and picked up the chariot wheel like a chakra, and you raced towards me. I wanted to fight with you, says Bhishma, and thus you fulfilled my desire. O Krishna, let my only goal be you, Mukunda, who, afflicted by my sharp arrows, my armor broken, covered in blood, rushed towards me, his enemy, with great force, in order to kill me. Ultimately, Krishna says, time I'm the killer of all things. But if Krishna personally comes and kills you, that's a blessing. Like all the demons that Krishna killed, they all attained transcendental states. So this was Bhishma's desire. If I'm going to fight, then let my desire be fulfilled that Krishna is the one who kills me. Desiring to die, may I have praying for you, O Krishna, who protected Arjuna's chariot while holding a whip in his right hand and the reins in his left hand, whose beauty must be seen, and who bestows liberation to those who died on the battlefield by seeing him. His thoughts now go to the loving mood of the gopis and those who were dear to him in various moods of loving expression. We'll pick up there with our next reading. Jai Gaur Premanandi Haribol, Jai Shri Bhishma Dev, Jai Shri Radhe Shyam.